Hello fantasy managers, welcome to FPL Team Talk. In this video we're going to have a look at some of the transfers that have been made so far over the last week since the last game week coming up to game week 8. It's a lot of people who are activating their wildcard, so there'll be a lot of transfers made, a lot of players moving out. I expect that number to go up as we get closer to the deadline. But let's have a look at some of those decisions people are making. Are they good decisions? Let's have a look at the stats and how it all pans out. Okay, first of all, please don't forget to subscribe. Channel is new this year. Any support we welcome. More great content coming out. Transfer market. We've had doing a bit of experiment to see if we can actually make any money. We'll be concluding that shortly. Wildcard drafts coming up. Click on that button. Okay, first player we're looking at is Ismaila Sarr. He was brought in heavily over the last couple of weeks. And to be fair, he's returned. He's seven games this season. He's played all of them. He's a regular in that Watford side. He's got 4 goals this season. Expected goal involvement 0.41. So he's about where he should be. Shots in the box 13. He's been brought in by quite 18% owned. Is quite high. 6.3. He's done pretty well. But if we look at those fixtures, wow, it's just covered in red. So some hard games coming up for Ismaila Sarr. People are starting to get rid of him. Does that look like a good decision or not? Let's take a look. For me, he's got 3 goals in the last 3 games. He always starts, and he is possibly on pen. So those are all good reasons to keep Ismaila Sarr. But it's just those fixtures. Look at those fixtures. He's got Liverpool away coming up. We know what he did a few years ago against them. But apart from that Southampton game, it's just covered in red. There are, I think, better alternatives for his price. And we'll be looking at some of those players that have been brought in. So people jumping off Ismaila Sarr, coming on to other players. For me, I think if I had him already and I didn't have any other transfers to make, I would probably keep him. He wouldn't be the first man to come off out of my side. Having said that, he can always go on the bench. But would I bring him into a wildcard? Absolutely not. If I had the spare transfer, and that's a luxury, I think, yeah, I would be looking to get rid of him. Those fixtures look really tough. Even with the Claudio Ranieri and the new manager bounce back, you just don't know how they're going to react over those 5 games. For me, there's better alternatives out there. It's afraid, yeah, get rid of, please. Okay, let's have a look at Pogba. 7 matches. He's played in all of them. He didn't start the last one, so there's a little bit of rotation going on there. He's got 7 assists, so his expected goal involvement is 0.52. He's completely outperforming that. He's got 1 goal involvement per game. Shots inside the box 11. That's decent for a midfielder. It's obviously priced at 7.7. He's owned by 1 in 5 Premier League fantasy managers own him. It's crazy high, I think, but people are getting rid of him. It's not a player that I've ever really fancied owning. There's constant worries about rotation with him, and no question about his ability and what a good player he is. Sometimes I've wondered about his motivation, but he seems to have that this year. And it's just his role in the team, that Manchester United side, that gives question marks. But people getting rid of him, do we think they're the right thing to do? I think it is. 7 assists, no goals. Where the points are coming from is clearly through goals in that midfield. I'm not going to pass up an assist. I'm thrilled he's making any return if I had him. But it's goals that really make those points for me in midfield. He has blanked in the last 3, but Manchester United in the last 3 haven't performed particularly well, and they'll be disappointed with some of those results. I suppose excluding the West Ham game. The presence of Rashford looms over Paul Pogba, not in terms of him getting dropped, but in terms of him playing further up the pitch. Rashford coming back in training now means that there's a lot of competition for those roles to play up side or just behind Cristiano Ronaldo or Edison Cavani. You've got the likes of Martial, Greenwood still there hanging around, Sancho, who's not really had a full run of games in that side yet, Lingardinho still hanging around as well. All these players have got to be trying to kind of cater for. Does that mean Paul Pogba in there drops back to a deeper role? You've got the European matches. That there is an onus on them now to perhaps win the next European game. Having lost that first one, fixtures don't look horrendous, but they don't look great either. And for 7.7, you just feel that perhaps this is a good time to get rid of him, release some of that money to bring in a different player. I just think it's a good decision to leave him off. Let's have another of his Manchester United teammates, Mason Greenwood. I owned him from the start. I did lose him when I did my wildcard. 7 matches, 3 goals he scored in those first 3 games. Got an assist as well, so his goal involvement was brilliant in those first 4 games. Kept his place in the side. His expected goal involvement only 0.33, so he's doing much better than he's expected. He's getting shots in the box. He is not afraid to have a shot, and he's lethal when he does. So really thrilled with that. Owned by 14.7%, 7.6, so 0.1 cheaper than Pogba, but people are getting him out. Those fixtures, again, same as Pogba's, not nice fixtures, not great fixtures. They've come off the back of a couple of half-decent fixtures and not produced. So these games are looking even harder, and you've got the European competition as well. Is he right? He started every game. That's the plus point for Mason Greenwood. That's really encouraging that he's just constantly playing. You could look at that the other way, I guess, and say that he's due a rest. He's blanked in the last three as well, and again, it's the same, isn't it? There's a Rashford presence. We know how much Ole Gunnar Solskjaer loves Marcus Rashford. He will come in and he will play games when he is fit. When is that going to be? Mason Greenwood's position is therefore up for jeopardy. Okay, he is in a little bit of what's the word I'm looking for? He rotational risk, I suppose, when Rashford comes back. Again, we talk about Sancho. Again, same argument with Pogba. For me, I wouldn't be shipping him out sooner if I had other issues to deal with. I'd much rather keep Mason Greenwood than Paul Pogba, because if he is going to play, it's either going to be up front, which is unlikely with Ronaldo, or it's going to be behind or out wide, where he still has been really lethal. But for me, yeah, if I could, I would get rid of him. Certainly, I wouldn't be bringing him on a wild card. Andros Townsend then, 7 games, 3 goals, 2 assists, expected GEI, goal involvement 0.44. He's been brilliant. Loads of people bringing him in. Those fixtures look quite nice as well. He's got a tricky game coming up, first of all. Then he's got some really nice goal fixtures. Shots in the box is really low from midfield. He's taken a lot of shots outside the box. Inside the box I've included, because I like to be able to see what quality shots he's getting. But he's very lowly owned at the moment. I only expect that to go up. His price is really nice for 5.6. He's just had a great season. Those goals have obviously been boosted by the penalty he got against Norwich. You expect when DCL comes back that he will be off penalties. Even if they get another penalty in the same game, we know that's going to go to a Richarlison apparently. So he's well down the pecking order for goals in terms of the penalty spot. People bringing him in. Do we think that's a good decision? Yeah, it's a thumbs up for me. So 4 goal involvements in the last 4 games, 3 goals. So that's great. He's got more goals than he has assists. There's more points, better bonus. The only thing I'm going to say as a caveat, I'm looking at both sides of the story here. When he's got those goal involvements, it is against weaker opposition. It was Southampton on the opening day. He got an assist. Then obviously he had a great game against Norwich. So it is against weaker opposition, but he has got weaker opposition coming up as well. He's no longer on pens as well. That's a consideration. There's an argument or a conversation to be had around whether it's Andros Townsend or Andre Gray. He is cheaper. Did I say Andros? I meant Damari Gray. He is cheaper than Gray, only by 0.1. I think he's good. I think those fixtures, they look great. They look great. He's no longer on pens. Assuming Richarlison or DCL come back, he looks like a good player. 5.7. I don't mind him putting him on the bench. Yeah, if I've got a wild card, I'm considering bringing him in. If I've got a free transfer, if I've got that available, I'll possibly wait for the next fixture to go, then bring him in. But yeah, I can understand it, and I think it's a good move. Okay, let's have a look at Abdoulaye Doucoure. 7 matches, 2 goals, 4 assists. XG 0.31. Shots in the box, again, quite low. More than no Townsend we're getting. He's pushing forward. Again, it's the same set of fixtures for him. He's very only lowly owned as well. 6.5. 0.1% cheaper. 0.1 million cheaper. 5.6. Abdoulaye Doucoure, all the same things. Let's have a look. Is it a good call? For me, or maybe I'm still getting my sort of CDM defensive midfielder role. I can't get it out of my head with Doucoure. He was a good box-to-box player at Watford. For Everton, he's been deployed much deeper. The last few weeks, he has been getting forward more. 4 goal involvements in the last 4 games. He is getting some shots in and around the box. For the price, I'd rather go for Townsend, I feel. Also, players coming back. How is that going to affect him? With the likes of Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin coming back, is he going to be asked to go far forward? I suspect he'll be more withdrawn. I don't know. I just can't see him keeping it up. His goal involvement's okay, but for the price, I think I'd just rather go for Townsend. So people bringing him in, I'm not convinced. He would not be coming in on my wildcard. I just think there's much better options in Conor Gallagher, with Gray, with Townsend. I just, for me, he's a thumbs down. He's not. Next up on the list was Jamie Vardy. He has got 7 matches. He plays 6 goals, 1 assist. He hasn't scored from a penalty spot yet this season as well, so it's been all from open play. Expected XG 0.62. He is outperforming his XG. Shots on the box 19, that's ridiculous. He's doing really well. He's only owned by 14%. It's priced 10.5, but people bringing him in the droves. One of the top transfer players in this week so far. Look at his fixtures. Obviously, the next one's quite tricky. Then he has quite a nice run of fixtures. Could you argue he's fixture proof? We've seen him obviously having goals. He's got a hat-trick famously, I think, was it last year at Manchester City? So, yeah, you could. He does rise to the big occasion. He does like scoring against those top 4 sides. So there is an argument for that. Is it a good decision to bring him in? This is controversial, guys. It's probably the hardest one for me. I'm just going to say no. He's got 4, all his stats almost go against what I'm saying. 4 goals in the last 3 games. That's brilliant. He's on penalties, and Leicester did have, I don't know, no other side. I think they drew at Manchester United. Don't quote me on that. They were certainly in the top 2 or 3 of the most penalties they received last year. So we haven't had any yet, but that bodes well, I guess, for the future. 10.5 million is probably the one thing that puts me off. He takes up a premium spot. You bring in Vardy, suddenly I've got to sacrifice someone else. I'm not going to sacrifice a Salah. I don't want to get rid of a double up on a Manchester City or Chelsea defence. Lukaku's a must-have. Who do I bring in instead? Who does he take up that place of? The fixtures look good. European fixtures obviously are coming up. They've got a new EFL. You suspect he'll be rested for that. But they will have to manage their Vardy's minutes to some extent. Daka and Iheanacho may be taking up some of that slack. And I'll be interested about Iheanacho as well. He's scoring and we know what a goal machine he can be. If he plays, I just think he's a better option than Vardy for 2 or 3 million less. So he's tempting. Those European fixtures do worry me. They lost a couple of games already. There was a Napoli draws and they lost away in the last game. If they're serious about progressing into the Europa League further, Vardy he's got to start playing some of those games. Does that mean then that he gets rested for the weekend or his minutes gets managed? Somewhere along the line, if they want to progress, he is going to have to get managed. That's a big worry for me. And obviously the next game, a red, that's a difficult game as well, Manchester United. After that, it gets a bit kinder. I've never been a Vardy owner, as far as I can remember, and that's cost me the pass. For me, I just overlook. It's his price that puts me off. Leicester not playing particularly well at the moment either. They're still scoring though. It's his price that worries me. The minutes worry me a little bit. I just think there's so many other players out there. Your Bamfords, the DCLs, when they're fit, your Antonios, obviously Lukaku as well, and even Kane to have a conversation about. And he taking one of those spots. Can I justify it? I don't think I can. So for me, he's a thumbs down, I'm afraid, guys. If you disagree with me, tell me. That's all for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. Please let us know any comments below about anything. We haven't selected all the players that are moving out. Some of the players that we chose were just more interesting and more controversial. I think the likes of Ronaldo being moved out and moving on to Lukaku, people are doing that by droves. I think that's just a conversation we don't need to have. It's just too obvious. People bring Hwang in. Again, it's cleared why that's happening, and we've covered that in previous videos. Please do not forget to subscribe, leave us a comment, and click that like button. Otherwise, I shall see you soon.